Hey guys, welcome back to this Learn and Slay series. Today we're going to go over how I do my eyebrows. I'm going to do one eye that's more like a dramatic eyebrow that I like to do when I really want to be glam, and then on the other eye I will show you guys a more natural look and what products and things I use to accomplish that look. So the first thing you're going to need is a spoolie, and I go ahead and brush my eyebrows up. And of course, proper eyebrow grooming is very important. So sometimes when I don't feel like doing my eyebrows at all, I will use a Just for Men's like grooming tint. I will show a picture of what I use, and I will actually tint my eyebrows, and that will last for about a few days, and that way I don't have to go in and do my eyebrows at all. I just clean up with some concealer. But for the most part, if I'm feeling too lazy to keep up with that, then this is what I will do. But you always need a spoolie, and you always need to make sure that your eyebrows are groomed. So I will pluck my eyebrows regularly. If you get them waxed, tweezed, whatever, I don't know, whatever is your preference, do you. But how I do it is I just kind of keep them every few days, and I will go through and make sure I pluck extra stray hairs. So first step is to go ahead and spoolie them out. Now for the dramatic eyebrow, I'm going to be using my Anastasia Beverly Hills dip brow and the Inglot 31T brush. So you want a nice thin brush like this one that also has some stiffness to it. So you don't want a very flimsy angled brush. You want a brush that has some stiffness to it. So that is the biggest barrier that you may come across with the brushes, is that they're too flimsy. Let me see if I can find one that I'm talking about. So this is just a paintbrush, and this is what I'm talking about with it being too flimsy. Like, it just is so flimsy, and this is not going to hold any product very well at all. Another brush that I like to use for powder, which I'm not going to be doing in this video, is the Japonesque one. This is very similar to an angle brush, but it's very, 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 very firm, and it's a little bit smaller, but it's thicker. So that's not going to give you a very sharp line. So this one is really good for powder. Okay. So because I have been using my dip brow for quite some time, as you can see, it's almost out. It's gotten a little bit crusty. I want to try the Benefit Kabrow because I heard that one doesn't get as dried out as this one. So because it's kind of dried out, I always use Inglot Duraline. This stuff is amazing. So if you have any gel eyeliners or dip brow or something that is dried out, this stuff, you place a drop of it in whatever you're working with, and it kind of creates it like this nice, like, I don't know, it just revives it. So definitely, if you don't have Inglot Duraline in your kit or in your collection, you definitely need it. You can also use mixing medium. Some people use like a Fix Plus type spray, but to me, it doesn't give the same consistency as this one, because this almost has like an oily situation in it. So this stuff is bomb. So I'll normally take a drop of that, place it in my Duraline, and take my brush and swirl it together. Sometimes I just put it in the cap and then kind of do it a little bit in the cap instead of the actual pot. But because my pot is almost empty, I have more space to do it in here. Okay. So then I'm going to wipe the brush so there's not a ton of product on there. Now for me, I have to be really close to a mirror to be able to do my brows. So I have a double-sided mirror. I think I told you guys about this already. And I like to go to the magnified side so that I'm all up in my brows and can really see what I'm doing. But I take it and I hold my brush towards the end, and then I draw the line underneath, and I kind of start like right here towards the, not the middle, but you know, not the very front either. And I lightly draw a line following the natural curve of my eyebrow. Then I go in towards the middle or the front and continue like so. I'll take a little bit more product on my brush, again, wipe it off. This is one of those things you want to have, you want to go a little bit at a time. That way it's not too harsh or you don't put too much. Then another thing that I like to do is brush my brows down gently. That way you can really see the top of your eyebrow. And I go the same part, not at the very beginning, not at the middle, not at the end, kind of right here in this section. And I draw a second line. Now when it comes to this part right here, I like my brows to have a point. It's personal preference. You may like yours rounded. So I kind of create a line and then take an angle and go down and connect the top and the bottom. Then I slowly just start flicking my brush upwards to fill it in. Now I also tend to get breakouts in my eyebrows. There's one in my eyebrow right now, like right about here, so that kind of sucks for me, but still you just kind of go over and fill it in. Don't worry if you go a little bit over, it's not a big deal. Okay. So the other thing that I like to take are Q-tips, kind of wipe off any areas that I got too crazy. Now that's because I tend to do my eyebrows first, so before foundation, before anything. So for me it's not a big deal to wipe it off, but it's personal preference. So then we're left with this, and I take a little bit more product, again wiping it off, and I'm going towards the front. Now I like to fill in this bottom portion, and I take my brush and I point it directly at me and I flick up. Then when I'm at the very front, I turn my brush from being horizontal to being vertical, and I'm going to create upward hair strokes. Now sometimes I don't feel like I have enough color, so I will take a little bit more product and really kind of wipe it off. And I will take my brush this way and kind of swipe it over the brow like this. So then we're left with this shape. Okay, so then I like to go with that spoolie. Now I have two different spoolies. I have one that's like this. This is like more of a very harsh spoolie. This one is kind of softer. I prefer the softer one, so you'll be able to tell the difference. If you, sometimes this came in like a makeup brush set and it's like really hard and rough. Stay away from these, because when you go to spoolie through, you're gonna spoolie off all that work that you just did. So make sure you have a softer spoolie and use a light hand. And I just go in mostly towards the front and go up, and then the back I'm going sideways. Okay. Then I want to top it off with a brow gel. I like to use the Brow This Way by Rimmel. I also want to try the Gimme Brow by Benefit. But any sort of brow gel, this is just a clear one. And in the front, I go up. And in the back, I go sideways. Again, using a light hand so as to not take off the product. Now normally this is actually the last step that I do, like towards the end of my entire makeup, because when I add foundation, powder, all of these things, your brows get a little bit disturbed. So I do have to go back in and just, you know, fix up like a little bit of the edge or whatever. And then this is like one of the last things I do for my entire makeup look, but that's just, you know, my preference. Then to clean up the brows, to make it just a little bit more sharp, I take a concealer. Now the best type of concealers to use are like a cream based concealer. So the MAC, the one in the pot, oh my gosh, what is it called? Studio Finish concealer. I'll put a picture somewhere. But that one is a good one to use. I don't have it. NYX in a Jar is a good one to use as well. I don't like this one for me because I don't like the shade of this one, but you want to go like one shade lighter than your complexion to really make them pop. If you like, you don't have to. You can use just your foundation. You can use whatever concealer you like, but today I'm going to take the ColourPop No Filter Concealer in the color Tan, and I'm just going to put a little bit of that on the back of my hand here. And then you want to take some sort of flat brush. So I like to use either this one that's on the other side of that spoolie brush that I don't really like. You can use like a flat top brush like this. This is the MAC 212 brush. Or just a nice flat synthetic brush like this one. This is a Coastal Scent synthetic brush. I think this is like a concealer brush. But something with a nice flat edge that you really like. And then some sort of... you can either use your finger or you can use like a regular eyeshadow brush. So what I do is put a little bit of product on the brush like so and go directly under. Again, I don't start in the very front. I don't start at the end. I start here. And you just want to carve it out gently. First going to the side and then dragging it down. Okay, now you can either take your finger to blend that out, or you can take that brush, the eyeshadow brush. Now you can go back in with more product, or you can just use whatever is left on the brush to do the top, same concept. Normally with this flat brush, I like to go sideways, it's just a little bit easier. And I do it in 2 steps. I go 1, and then after the point, I go 2. And that is my dramatic brow. So on this side, let's do the natural brow. And again, I'm going to spoolie it out. The products I like to use for a natural brow are a pencil. Now my favorite eyebrow pencils are the MAC eyebrow pencils. I don't have any right now because I just ran out of all of them, and then I always redeem those for my back to MAC lipsticks. So I haven't picked those up in a while because I've really been using the dip brow more often anyways. But some good ones from the drugstore are the LA Girl Shady Slim ones. These ones are really, really good. You want to go for a brow pencil that has a very fine tip. At least that's what works for me. So I've tried a bunch from the drugstore, but these ones are really good in my opinion, because sometimes you'll get them where they're too creamy and then your brow is kind of sliding all over the place, or they're too hard and you're really like dragging it across your brow and you don't get a lot of definition. But this is a good combination, you know, of in between, where it glides on, it's pigmented, but it's waxy enough to where it doesn't slide all around. And they come with their own spoolie, which is pretty cool. Now another one that I just picked up yesterday is the ColourPop Brow Boss, and same thing, it comes with the fine tip as well as a spoolie. So I've never used this one, so let's see what this is working with today. This is in the color dark brown, and in the LA Girl one I have the color Blackest brown, which is pretty dark, and the color Espresso, which is the step up from that. But let's see what this ColourPop is talking about. So I'm just gonna spoolie. See, now this is one of those hard spoolies that I was telling you about. This is okay to start, but as far as after I put this product on, I would not use this spoolie to slide through because it's gonna take off all of that product. But these hard spoolies are really good for when you're first grooming your brow to put your product on, because it really will put it in place. So we'll see how this goes. So I'm just going to take out a little bit. You don't want a whole chunk of it out, and you don't want just a little bit out. You need, you know, you need some product out to be able to put on your brows. And again, I'm going to start underneath. Like so. So I started about here and went backward. And now I'm going to drag it to the front. Now this color is a little bit light, but it's not too bad. Sometimes I'll mix and match, you know, if I don't like how light it is to outline, then I'll add a darker one to, you know, fill in. It just depends, but this isn't too shabby. So you have that line situated. Then we're going to go to the top, so we're going to drag our brow down so you can really see the top of, you know, the brow here. And I'm going to start about here and go up to where my point is and then down. And pencils tend to go down pretty quickly, and that's why I like these thin ones, because if you get the ones that are kind of thick like a eyeliner pencil, once you lose that dull tip, forget about it. You can sharpen it as much as you want, but they're too creamy and they don't create a nice line, so you want to go for the thinner ones. So pulling it down. Now with the pencil, since my brows are kind of already together, I just go ahead and start filling it in from the back here. I actually really like this pencil. Okay, I do like this color. So just for a rule of thumb, your eyebrow shouldn't be the same exact color as your hair. It should be, I think the rule is to do it one shade lighter than your hair color. It just is personal preference. Some people have blonde hair and they like black eyebrows. I mean, it's whatever you want to do. But sometimes if you have too dark of a brow, it can look really harsh. And so if you're finding that your brows are looking really harsh, consider changing the color. And then also try using a lighter hand when you're applying it. So this one is actually a pretty good color. At first I thought it was light, but it's actually darker than I expected. So I'm going to go in and just go downward. Okay. And then I'm going to take the spoolie, and again, because this is a stiff one, I'm going to lightly brush those hairs back up. Just barely grazing the hairs. And I'm going to make sure I have a good point, and I'm going to start going upward. And sort of slanted to fill in this other area. Okay. So then I'm going to go back to the front. And again, I'm going to start going upwards. So the front of the hairs, whatever medium you're using, you want to go up with your utensil. And then the back of the hairs, you want to go horizontally and with the flow of the eyebrow. So like that. Then I'm going to take my soft spoolie and again go up lightly and over. Now I like the crispness of this brow. It's just my preference, which is why I tend to do it more often. But as you can see, it's much more of a softer look, but I still tend to carve out these eyebrows as well. You don't have to carve them out. If you don't want them to look really defined, then do not carve your eyebrows out with concealer. But when I do a natural brow, I still carve them out with concealer. I just do not do the top. So I'm going to go in again with my brow gel. And most of the time when I'm doing a natural brow, like with pencil, I like to go in with a colored brow gel instead of a clear one, just to give me a little bit more color to it, but that's just preference. So as you can see, it's very different. But it is what it is, and I'm going to take just a little bit more of that ColourPop concealer. And I'm going to go in and carve just the bottom only. And just a rule, typically whatever medium I'm using to carve out my brows is what I will also prime my lids with as well. It just kind of depends. But it's just a little bit easier. As you can see, I'm already putting it on my lid a little bit, so it's just easier to bring it all down. So sometimes the front of my lid gets a little, the front of my brow gets a little weird, like in this area. So sometimes I do go back and just kind of add to it if I feel like I need it. And that is it. So this is how I do two eyebrows. As you can see, this is my more glam brow and this is my more natural brow. If I'm using a powder, I will do the same exact process that I do with my pencil, just with a powder. So you can take a eyeshadow, like a brown eyeshadow, black eyeshadow, whatever color you're using, and you do that the same steps, and you can also accomplish the same look. But I hope this video was helpful. I know it was long and detailed, but I wanted to show you two different brows and kind of give you just, you know, an idea on how to do your brows. If there's any other products that you guys suggest for brows, let me know. I'm open to trying new things. And thank you guys so much for watching. If this was helpful, please like this video. And if you just like me and haven't subscribed already, then go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. And thank you guys so much for tuning in and supporting me as always. Till next time.